Now, when I think about this year's recipient, I always think about the story in the book of Daniel in the Bible about Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel was steadfast in his beliefs, he was faithful, and he was quiet, but a strong leader who did not shy away in fear when facing the lions. An ordained minister since 2014, this year's recipient has always displayed great faith in her various roles, and she is fearless as she works to improve the lives of others. Mr. Lee Hudson, a community leader and a fellow Rotarian, said, "She is humble, but a determined professional who has the utmost integrity. She started what we know today as Johnston County Youth Services with an $11,000 grant and a heart for service. During her time with Johnston County Youth Services, Clayton was experiencing a high crime rate, and that was precipitated by drug abuse. In 1984, this year's recipient applied for a part-time position as a counselor in the Clayton Concerned Citizens. That group provided a safe space for youth during the weekends, and her role was to work with families as a case manager in an effort to deter that drug use. This part-time position was later awarded the grant, as I just mentioned, by the Department of Juvenile Justice, spawning the development and implementation of Johnston County Youth Services. Her role expanded where she served as executive director for the group for over 10 years. And under her leadership and her guidance, the staff grew from 1 to 10, and the resources allocated for the programming grew from $50,000 to well over $250,000. After leaving Johnston County Youth Services, she opened a consulting firm, working with organizations who were interested in establishing as a nonprofit. For 8 years, she consulted with organizations. Here's what she had to say. "This position allowed me to hear the heart of visionaries and to aid them in bringing their vision into full implementation. I have been involved with assisting over 15 entities to become fully operational nonprofits. All but one of those entities continue to exist today. In nonprofits, one has the opportunity to create programs and services that are designed to meet the societal ills that we see today. I believe it's through working with nonprofits that the lives of those that are served are given an opportunity to thrive. Nonprofit entities are the catalyst that bring about hope in the midst of despair." Today, this year's recipient serves as the executive director and president of Harbor. As Johnston County's only nonprofit agency for victims of domestic abuse, sexual assault, families in transition, Harbor provides safe, compassionate, and advocacy services, resources, and programs where the staff work diligently to assist families in need. "She is my hero. This woman has continued to stand up for people who do not have a voice in the situation they find themselves in, and she and her team work tirelessly to advocate for them." This was a quote Ruth Anderson shared. She is the chair of the board of directors, and she sends her deepest regrets that she could not be here tonight. She went on to say, "In the past couple of years, our recipient has faced tremendous challenges in carrying out her responsibilities at Harbor, but not once did she waver. Her dedication in advocacy is beyond words. She's a true leader, and I'm proud to call her my friend." And lastly, Judge Addie Rawls had this to say about our recipient this year. She said, "I've watched her since I first came to the county. She's a champion of all of her causes, and she goes above and beyond the call of duty. She's a friend of the disenfranchised and those who are otherwise devalued by our society. She has a way of bringing out the very best in everyone and makes all feel included. She is a woman of strong moral conviction, strong in her religious faith, and her life embodies the Theodore Roosevelt quote that states, 'People don't know how much you care until they know People don't know how much you know until they know how much you care. So at this time, it gives me the greatest sense of pleasure in announcing Kay Johnson as the 2019
for this award. Ms. Wood, I know what it means to push through. To be a part of a wonderful group of women who are doing extraordinary things, understanding that it does take a village to make a difference. So to all the nominees, thank you for being a part of the village in 2019. I do appreciate it. To my mom, who taught me how to push through. To the one who nominated me, who's been a support system. To my fellow Rotarians, who are very supportive and always there. Not just for me, but for Harbor. I am grateful. And more importantly, and definitely not, well, before the last thing I say, to my husband in his absence, and he probably will get me for not purchasing him a ticket tonight. I have to go home and explain this one. But last, I'm so grateful to God, who is truly the head of my life, who has been my rock in the midst of adversities, who has shown me that I can do all things through him. Thank you, thank you, thank you.